I don't know, man. Crazy. Yo,
Yo, what up?
how's it going, man?
Hey, come on, Dean.
You got the Zoom background?
Yeah, I had it yesterday. I was on my Shabbat Shalom reunion with Reality Tech.
Nice.
So we all went to Israel together, and I was doing that for just yesterday. I'll change
That's
it.
awesome.
Have you ever gone to Reality Tech?
You know, I was supposed to go one year to Israel with that group, and I unfortunately couldn't go because I had the Boston Marathon, and it was like so I would have had to cut it short, so I wasn't able to go.
Oh, yeah, you should, once this all clears, you should do that, bro. Like, oh my God, it's like, that was like one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It was so awesome.
Were you on that with was a guy named Yaniv running that when you did it?
You
A friend of
need.
mine, Yaniv Rivlin was a friend of mine. He used to organize that trip.
No, I don't, not this time. I don't think that he was on the team. No.
Cool trip.
Oh, it was so awesome, man. We're like herding sheep, and then we're going to like where Jesus, where Jesus was buried and where he walked to these craters, and they just did like surprises, like these like crazy surprises where we would end up being like in this crater at night, all like doing some work under the stars, and then they would take us into this crater, and there would be like bonfires and music and eating food outside. It was the coolest thing ever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, do I sound okay to you?
Yeah, you do. You sound good. Do I sound okay? Because I don't have
Yeah,
my
you sound good.
earphones connected to my computer.
You sound good. So, are you able to record this on your Zoom?
Yeah, it's recorded. Yep.
Okay, cool. So we can do it like I'll put it out as a podcast for me. Are you going to put this out as a podcast for you too?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I'm hoping. I've never done a dual interview where we both use the content for our podcasts.
I think that'd be awesome.
So I've really never done that before. So I think let's do it. We have some conversation. The only weird part about it is like I would want like to ask you about some of your story and some of your lessons, and then you're asking some of me, and I don't know how that would I guess that would
good.
Does your audience care if you tell your story again, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally. Yeah. We'll just roll through it. I'm psyched, man. I'm pumped up. Are you going to be doing it there in your living room?
This is my podcast room. I was just getting it set up.
Okay. Cool. You're gonna have to throw in some burpees or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I told you all of my interviews are done outdoors on a walk or a run. That's why I'm walking right now.
Oh shit! So
it's all good though.
If I did that here in the hills, it's definitely
you'd have no reception. Yeah, it's all good. We're in a different time now, so we're just rolling with it.
I have room here. I can. If you wanted me to do that, I could.
Just throw it. We'll throw in some push-ups and some burpees every now and then, or some like yoga poses or something.
I have a gym literally right outside the podcast room. So as soon as you want to go into doing some exercises, let me know.
It's all good.
We'll go right there.
We'll just throw some. We're just rolling with it. We're in like a new time right now.
Yeah.
Roll. I did a podcast yesterday with a guy that did like this, and he was inside his house, and it was fine. Just do it. We were flexible now. Everything's flexible.
Yeah.
There's no more rules.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So how are you doing? Well, we should probably save that for the interview, just all that kind of stuff. Just like,
yeah.
Are we rolling?
All right. Yeah. Well, this is recording. I mean, if we're using the Zoom in, we're recording.
Yeah, we're doing it. So, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I mean, it's been wild for sure. I knew that like a financial crisis was on the horizon, because we had this 12-year bull run. So I remember come like December and January, I talked to one of my portfolio managers, and I was like, hey, I want you to start going more conservative. So because I kind of thought this was coming. I actually then started saying to myself, like maybe I was wrong. Come like February, I was like, fuck, the market's still rallying.
Yeah.
And boom, out of nowhere. But I never thought it was going to be this like health pandemic and a financial crisis all at once. So It's pretty wild, man. It's brought up a lot of things for me, a lot that I've learned about myself during this time already. And thankfully, my family is healthy and safe. That's like the first priority, of course.
Are they all in New Jersey?
They're all in New Jersey. I'm here in LA.
Yep.
And but yeah, I mean, I have friends that have gotten the virus. I have mentors. Like one of my mentors is a billionaire, and he got it. And it was like that's when it really hit me. I was like checking up on people, and my friend Edward, who's a billionaire out of Wisconsin, he was the chairman of the Green Bay Packers. He
Wow.
sent me a picture back in the hospital with the respirator next to him, and I was like, wow, like. That's when it really hit me because I was like, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you're from, what your beliefs are. Like this virus is real and it'll take you out,
Yeah. It's crazy. It's a wild time. I'm here in New York City, so usually we're doing the dual interview conversation here. So this is going to go out on both of ours, but usually I start my podcast by introducing where I am to give people a picture of what it's like so that they're walking or running along with us. And just to give people a picture of what it's like, I am standing in the middle of the road right now in New York City.
Yeah.
And there's no cars. Like I could just do the whole podcast standing in the middle of the road in New York City, like on a spring Saturday. I mean, it's not cold, it's not warm, but on a day like today, I'm in front of Pete's Tavern. There'd be so many people out here. There'd be lots of cars, families out with their kids. There's a really popular breakfast place over here by me called Friend of a Farmer. There'd be a line around the corner to get in there. And literally, I'm standing on like the middle of the street.
Wow.
For people I've never done like a video podcast before, but if you're doing this, there's like no cars. I could stand here all day. It's crazy.
That is unbelievable. And, it's crazy because I lived in New York for 8 years. So, like, I know, and I'm sure many of you that are listening have been to New York City, right? It's like, if there's one thing about New York that you love, because when we go back there, now that I live in LA, it was like that energy that you love. It was just always busy, always pounding. It was the city that never sleeps, It was just going. The hustle and the energy was just like contagious there. And now to know that like it's like a ghost city is wild. That is wild.
It's wild. I'll tell you actually something else interesting. You walk around now, there's like hardly anybody out. The other night I was working really, really late because we had to get some stuff up for one of our charity partners, and I had to go out and I had to test something in the app, which meant I had to go outside and go for a walk, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. There were more people out at 2 o'clock in the morning than there are right now because like those are essential people. They're doing the essential work. They're, getting the garbage collected. They're getting the food delivered to the supermarkets. Their nurses getting off their shifts. And it's like, holy cow, like you realize like what it's, there's a lot of essential people out there that we don't really get to see during the day that make this city, that make this country run. It makes me even more grateful for what they're doing at a time like this.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point because I actually thought about that this week too. I was like, the real heroes are obviously everyone on the front lines, and we know obviously of the doctors and the nurses, and we see all the, the pictures along social media. But I literally thought of the garbage men, like the garbage men, and, that are out there picking up our garbage, like just something that like we forget, right? Like that's just like every day they've been doing that for as long as we remember since we were born. But it's like, they're also still on the front lines out there doing work. And it's just, just now and the food stores are all the people at the food stores. Now when I would go to Whole Foods and see the lady working at the register, I remember the last time I left Whole Foods wearing my mask, I thanked her. I was like, hey, thank you so much for like working because like, they're putting their lives at risk too to be there.
They are.
Obviously they're doing it because they obviously still need to make a living. So I'm happy that we still have some people that are able to work right now and make a living. But I just wanted to really thank them.
Yeah, I mean, they're putting their lives on the line every day coming out there. It's a wild time right now. It's interesting, but it's also interesting because, like, there's certain things that, like, I always want to do that we don't get around to do that I'm able to get around to doing, like, right now. Like, actually, even just this podcast. You and I have been talking about doing a podcast forever, and, we haven't gotten around to doing it. Now we, because with the Zoom and all that, we can finally make it happen. I don't have to – I've always like held myself to that standard of having to like do it in person on a walk or a run. But now, all rules are out the window. We can make it happen on a Saturday through Zoom. So there's a lot. it's interesting times that we live in. So actually, you mind sharing just a little bit of your backstory with our members who are hopefully walking and running along with us, and then maybe I can do that with you and the people who are listening on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Jersey boy done good?
What'd you say?
Jersey boy done good?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know me, grow up in Jersey. It's always been my, I've always started with giving such respect to my lineage because, it really is all because my grandparents who immigrated to the United States to give me the opportunity to be able to find success in my life and have freedom and have opportunity. And on my father's side, they immigrated from Italy. My mom was born in Colombia, and I have family in Ecuador as well. And I ended up finding out my sister for my birthday this year got me 23andMe. I don't know if you've ever done those.
Yeah, I just did it.
Did you do it?
Yeah, it said I'm 99.3% Ashkenazi Jew. I'm like, well, there's no surprise there.
There you go. There you go.
Like, what's the 0.7? I don't know where that's coming from.
Funny. So, yeah, I found out through that I'm like 18.9% Native American as well. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
And, it's interesting. During this quarantine, there are these, like, shadows that have come up for me. And one of them is this shadow that I found out, which was, like, disappointment. And I grew up really in fear of, like, disappointing my family. As much, I always felt like, I was this creative kid growing up. I was the outdoor kid. I loved to get lost on my bike. But there was, like, this feeling of like, I remember being young and not feeling like I'm smart enough. Like my friends, my two best friends, his name is Mike Perinati and Nick Galanti. They were these kids I got into AT classes. I had friends that like were smarter. That frankly, they were getting into these higher end classes. And this was like, you're talking like elementary school, going back to that far, right? And I was the kid that like was your C student consistently. I also loved sports, but I never played first string. I always really was like your second string kind of player. I remember when I played football in high school, I even got to like third string. But I always tried these things, right? And then I started hustling at a young age. Like I ended up getting into some fights. I got pulled into a gang. I ended up selling weed. And I remember my dad catching me in the basement scaling weed and being like, you're a disappointment, and when you get caught, don't call home. And I remember, and I had a moment in my life that was like a defining moment. It was like an altar call moment in my life where I got pulled over. All these cops were surrounding me, and I had all the weed in my transmission in a Mitsubishi Eclipse. And immediately, I was in front of an apartment building where this kid I went to school with, his name was Sean. And his mom would buy these dime bags, the 20 dime or 20 for me every day. It was my little thing, And, the cops surround me. I call Sean. I'm like, you got to come outside right now. The cops are about to arrest me. And I hang up the phone. Sean comes out. The cops are like, at my car, hands on the steering wheel. What are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I'm picking up my friend from school, Sean. Sean comes outside. He's like, hey, officers, that's just my friend, what's the problem? And in that moment, I was like, I'm about to go to jail and be the biggest disappointment I've ever been to my family. And right then and there, an officer says, no, it's over here. And there was somebody committing grand theft auto in the car in front of me. And they told me, all right, kid, get out of here. And that day when I pulled out with a K-turn and got out of that parking spot and drove off, I said to myself, I have a guardian angel. It was my grandma Vera, I believed it was, who died of cancer when I was about 13 years old. And I said, I'm going to channel this hustle mentality towards business. I didn't know about entrepreneurship at the time. I just knew about, kind of like stocks and Wall Street. My dad was really always talking about that in the house. I just cared about business. And in that moment, I was like, all right, I got a second chance. So I literally stopped selling weed. And I was like, let me make my parents proud. Let me go to college. So I went to college, got into a Caldwell college, community college. I wasn't the smart kid. And then what do you think happened? Gerard was like, school's not for me. It didn't feel right. I wanted to get into business classes. They're telling me what classes to take to earn credits to be able to get into the finance classes. And I was like, this college system is like a big business in itself. And that's when I learned about entrepreneurship. I had asked some classmates, and a kid named Mark in my class was like, I asked him, "Do you know anybody that made it, like without going to college?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know a guy. I know a guy named John out of Wayne, New Jersey. I went to school with him." So they take you,
Yeah,
John.
John and Wayne. Who doesn't know John and Wayne?
Yeah, yeah. So
Everybody knows John and Wayne.
yeah, no, John in Wayne, not he lived in Wayne.
Yeah, I know where Wayne is.
Okay, yeah.
I grew up in Caldwell, North Caldwell. I know where Wayne is. Everybody knows John and Wayne, you know.
Well, believe it or not, this kid actually was pretty famous. His name is John Lebed. He was on 60 Minutes, New York Times. Pretty famous kid who was involved in the stock market. Got into some got just smashed by the media. I go to this guy's house. I didn't know who he was, but it was the first time I saw a mansion. You know, Wayne, New Jersey has these mansions. They're big, pretty big houses. And I grew up in a small town in New Jersey that had, you know, we were like a middle-class family. My mom worked at a local supermarket. My dad worked at Prudential in Newark. So, like, I never really saw a mansion like that before. So when I met John in his house, I said, "What do your parents do for a living?" And he was like, "It's not my parents' house. This is my house. I'm an entrepreneur." And that was my moment. Like, that was my moment of like, holy shit, here it is. Like, it's possible. Like, I don't necessarily need to go to college and go to 4 years and like get a degree and go down that route to be successful. So I still had that fear of disappointing my family by dropping out. I'll never forget. It was one of the hardest decisions of my life was to go all in on entrepreneurship. But it was the best decision, and you know, as much as I was scared, the one thing I can say, my dad, he never like, you know, that disappointment feeling like was mine. My dad was always like, "Go and do it." Like even when he caught me selling weed, right? He was like, "Just when you get caught, just don't call home." And he was the same when I dropped out of college. He was like, "Go ahead, drop out, go do what you got to do, but if you fail, don't call home. Like, figure it out. You're gonna have to figure it out in school, you know." So like that pressure, he put pressure on me, but he let me be independent to make my own decisions as a young man, and that allowed me to go all in. And that was the beginning of my journey of entrepreneurship. And then over the last 18 years, I built 2 8-figure businesses by 30, and did the whole startup thing, raised capital, took an idea from just an idea to 200 employees. We sold to a $1 billion company in 2015. And that was really what I call the first mountain. And then, like, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Second Mountain. I'm like on the second mountain now, which is when you realize you kind of have death to ego, and you realize that like the accolades, the money, you know, the external kind of power that you look for, you know, in your life, like doesn't really matter. And you start looking for like living a life more of, you know, dignity and helping others. And that's what I've been on now. Like, it's just over the last 5 years, I've started to just understand and grow my passion for leadership and go all in on helping people to become the greatest leader they can be, both as conscious leaders for themselves in their business and building a leadership brand in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I've certainly, like, I've learned a lot from you over the few years that I've known you in that respect. And one of the reasons that I was really interested in interviewing you now is to talk about, you know, those lessons of entrepreneurship, and also you know, what you say is leaders create leaders. And I feel like we're in a moment now where that's more important than ever.
Yeah. And,
you know, people are losing their jobs. Some of those jobs aren't coming back. And really, people are going to have to be creative and be entrepreneurial. I need to be entrepreneurial. You know, we all need to figure this out, you know. Yeah. And I feel like you have some wisdom and some insight to share from that. And I'm also curious if there's an expression or a kind of a phrase that I was taught when I was younger, that it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. And so I feel like you've certainly learned a lot about entrepreneurship and leadership, but I'm wondering what you're learning now that might be different than what you've learned before.
You know, what I've learned recently that's more important than all, like, I can sit and I love sitting with young entrepreneurs, like early stage entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter how old you are, but just, you know, you're just starting out. And, you know, I I've done it. I've done the 0 to 1, the seed to scale, like
Yep.
understand stuff. I would say the biggest thing though that I've learned at this point in my life is really it's purpose. It's about purpose. It's about finding, like, now's the greatest time ever, yes, to be entrepreneurial, but it's the greatest time ever to figure out really truly who you are and how you want to make a difference in the world. And I know that's hard to say for people that are like right now in a mind, are feeling the lack, right? They need to make money, right? And I get that. But it's
Right.
like, if you can really figure out your purpose in life and what you're passionate about and what you've learned and how you can then maybe even now like go deeper in learning a skill that you're passionate about. Maybe you haven't even mastered it yet, but you're passionate about a specific skill. And it's like, now's the time to go all in at mastering that skill and then tie it to purpose, tie it to helping people. And you've done that such at the highest level. And the reason why I was excited about doing this podcast with you, Gene, is because your business is tied to purpose, right? It's tied to charity. It's tied to cause. And I think more now than ever before, we all have an opportunity to step up as leaders. And we all have an opportunity to do that with our family, with our friend, like in our community. But we all have an opportunity to do that within our businesses and tying our business to cause. How can we make the world a better place? How can we help people? And it's the small things. It doesn't need to be this huge, big, disruptive Elon Musk, Tesla spaceship, right? It can be the little things you do within your, consulting company or the way you show up, in your, how you tie your startup to a cause, or in your, in your small business, right? And I think that people really need to start thinking about that more than ever before.
Yeah, it's true. And I think the last few days, hopefully we're through the hard part of the medical side of this virus, where like we flattened the curve, at least it seems, in New York, and who knows if it's coming back. A lot of uncertainty on the medical side, but it seems like we're through the hard part, and people are starting to think about returning, getting back to work, and what normal could be like.
Right.
And they're saying, like, let's get back to normal. Let's get back to normal. And I understand what they mean, and I totally do. And in a lot of ways, I want to get back to normal too. But there's a lot of things that I don't want to go back to normal. Like normal, as one of my mentors has taught me, normal is broken. 40% of our country is obese. 50-60% of our country is getting divorced. People are 70% are unhappy. 80% are in debt. Like, I don't know what the numbers are true, but like, what's that?
Because even the amount of, like, if you think about like the suicide rate and like the mental health aspect of like the country, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so like there's a lot that I don't want to go back to normal, and I'm hoping that for me personally, and for other people too, that we can take this time to think about, this is an opportunity. This is like a catalyst for change. It's been a catalyst for change for my business with Charity Miles in a lot of respects, and accelerating a lot of the changes that I've been trying to make anyway. But in our personal lives, in our business lives, whatever, like, it's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt either way. You might as well try to make it good on the other side of that pain. Right? Like, I say that to myself when I run a lot. Like, when I get to that part of the run where it's like really, I'm at mile 20 and it's hurting, I'm like, look, it's going to hurt either way. Even if you slow down and walk, it's going to hurt because you're already hurting. So you might as well just figure out a way to make it through and keep running, so that the story that you tell yourself on the other side is a story that you're proud of. Because you're going to finish this race. This is going to be over. You want to make sure that you come through it stronger on the other side. So I'm hoping that we don't go back to normal in so many ways. I mean, even I just said it. Like, I'm in the middle of the street. There's no cars, and in some respects that's eerie and that's bad. But in other respects, it's good. Right? We shouldn't be driving so much. Right? We shouldn't be. I look at there's all these maps that they have on the New York Times that show like how CO2 emissions are down. That's a good thing. Like, maybe like we can like realize, maybe I didn't need to drive as much as I was driving before, and I'll walk a little bit more, and I'll things like that. So, and what you said, like with Charity Miles, like having the cause, like I started Charity Miles thinking that the purpose of it was to earn money for charity. And it was a few years into it when I realized that that wasn't the purpose. The purpose is to get people to walk more. And, you know, all the things that we're raising money for, whether it's cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, depression, all of those things are trillion-dollar problems. Trillion-dollar problems. And, you know, raising thousands or millions or billions of dollars to them aren't going to scratch the surface. We have to change the way that we're living, right? Like, we have to be healthier. We look at the coronavirus. Like, if we were healthier, the people that it's affecting are less healthy people who are, you know, predisposed. And there's certainly a lot of healthy people that this hurt too. So I'm not minimizing that, but the people who are really the ones at risk were the people with, you know, the pre-existing conditions, the diabetes, the, you know, they were smokers, things like that. You know, we need to pay much more attention to our health so that we're more resilient from a health perspective, not just from like a mental and economic perspective, but from a health perspective. We all need to be healthier. So I'm hoping that we take stock of that, and, you know, we walk a little bit more, we eat healthier, we eat salads for lunch, we drink more water, we go to sleep earlier, and we make the changes that, you know, we need to make in the way that we live. Because, you know, raising money for charity is good, but it's like, you know, an ounce of prevention and a pound of cure, what they say. Anyway, that's my soapbox. I don't like to get on too much, but that's the end of my soapbox.
No, I think what you just said is really, really, really heartfelt, bro. And I agree with you because, wow, first of all, it's so cool to hear how that, like, your purpose got, you know, went from, because you've raised so, you know, millions. You've raised so much money towards charities around the world. But to hear that that's not the purpose, that's a beautiful outcome. But the true purpose is to help people. Because I agree with you, like, it's about like us changing. Like I always say, like, we heal ourselves, we heal the world, and it really does start with us. So like to get people walking again. Like I know, like I've been telling my mom and dad, I'm like, Mom, Dad, like you guys got to get out, like walking again, like all of us. Like for me as an entrepreneur, it's so important for me to get outside and like actually stay active and be active. You know, I would be doing that with you on this podcast like you do if it wasn't for Hollywood Hills. But I think what you said is true. And I also believe that what you said in the sense that, like, this is a sacred time right now where all of us, you know, I look at it as like, how do we come out of this? Normal wasn't working. How do we use this time to really go within, look at ourselves, really observe our beliefs, observe how we've been treating our body, how we've been treating our mind, how we've been treating each other, like really reanalyze all of the foundations, you know, by slowing down. That was something that I learned on this. I'm like, holy shit, I have not slowed down. Like I'm always go, 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 go. And now I have permission to slow down and rethink, like, all these really important questions of what does success look like for me? You know, how can I be healthier? You know, what are my beliefs and where did I get these beliefs and how can I shift these to new beliefs? You know, what are my rituals? What are these habits that I've been building into my routine on a daily basis? How can I be more committed, more disciplined in those routines, in those habits, in those rituals? You know, how can I go deeper in a moment of isolation? How can I go deeper into my relationships? Not use this as an excuse to be disconnected, but actually do that podcast that I've been talking about doing with Gene. How can I start having more conversations with my mom and dad, even though I can't see them in New Jersey, FaceTime them every day and like ask them questions about their life and go deeper with my friendships. And this is such a great time if we treat it sacred and know that, like, by slowing down and actually looking at ourselves and getting more clarity on who we are, how we're treating ourselves, what we're creating in the world, and preparing because business will open back up and it won't be the same, but who will you be? And if you prepare now for who you're becoming coming out of this, then yes, you can come out of this and make way more money than you've ever made, have better relationships than you ever had before, have a healthier body, a healthier mind than you've ever had before, you know, have a whole new life. And that's something that we need for the entire world, right? Like we want the whole, like the earth is healing right now. Like that's my belief. I believe that God is working, and he's not only working to heal the world with pollution and, and our environment and all these things, but he's actually making us heal ourselves right now. So,
Yeah.
and I think that it's those who don't go to drinking alcohol every single day to saying, all right, like I got to make a change. Like I got to start walking again. I got to start eating healthier. I got to start all these things we're talking about. Those people are really going to come out of this, and they're going to start attracting all those things that they desired in their life that they thought that they can never have, maybe.
I hope so. I hope that we don't forget it. I hope that we have, like when you go to the grocery store now and the shelves are empty, I hope that we remember that and appreciate the food that we have.
Yes.
When we have it. And actually, I'm not there now, but I live near the East River, and I wanted to make sure that I was staying somewhere where I knew I'd have good reception for this. But, I run on the East River in the mornings, and usually, like, I don't see that many other people running out there.
Right.
Certainly there are, depending on the time of the year, like when you get closer to, like, marathon season and in the summer and the fall, there's people. But, like, this time of year, there's usually not too many people out there in the mornings. And now there's tons of people out there. It's like people rediscovered the joy of, like, being outside.
Yeah.
Right? They're cooped up inside, and they're told that they can't go out, and they've rediscovered the joy of going for a walk.
Yeah.
They've rediscovered the joy of going for a run. My wife used to be a manager at a gym here in New York, and I have a lot of friends that work at gyms. I'm sure the gyms are going to come back, but and so people can't go to gyms, but they're rediscovering the joy of, like, going onto the grass and doing some burpees or doing some yoga, and, like, there's some simple things that don't cost money to do. Right? They say, like, the best things in life are free. Like, a lot of these things that we don't need money to do, to go for a walk, to go for a run, to do some burpees or whatever, just go for a walk with your friends. Like, even I'm doing Zoom walks with my friends, like I'm doing with you right now. It's like you can rediscover some of these things and rediscover your appreciation for them. That I hope that sense of appreciation stays with us when we're on the other side of this. So I know that you said that you built two 8-figure businesses is what you said. And I know a little bit of your story just from knowing you, that you've had some ups and downs in those businesses. And so I'm curious, like, what insights you have from, coming back from the downs that you could share for people out there that might be looking for that right now.
I feel, it's interesting. After I built the first 8-figure business, it was a marketing agency to help small publicly traded companies to be able to get exposure and create investor awareness. And I did that through storytelling, through email marketing, PPC, which is pay-per-click ads, and also building relationships and getting them written up with other bloggers back then. This was from like 2005, 2006 to 2010, because I started Elite Daily in 2011. And when the market crashed, I lost like my entire business. It was really difficult. And all the money I had saved, I had put it in the stock market, and that crashed. And it was one of the hardest things that ever happened to me. But what I could tell you is that when that happened, my ego got shattered. My mom told me a story of when she immigrated here. They had a 1-bedroom apartment with all her brothers and sisters. I have about five uncles and aunts on my mom's side. And that apartment building caught on fire. It was in Jersey City, and the family got out, but they came here with nothing. Now they literally lost everything. And my mom had to drop out of school at 16 years old to go and get a job on Canal Street in the winter. And she had never been to Canal Street before. And my mom was the oldest sibling. So you can imagine a 16-year-old little girl on Canal Street watching stands to make a little bit of extra money for her parents, to help put food on the table for her brothers and sisters. And my mom said, you may have lost all of this on your first, in your first journey of entrepreneurship after making millions, but they'll never take this and they'll never take this, and get out there and do it again. And that's what inspired me to say, you know what, I still have a skill and a passion for storytelling and content marketing. And, I love it, and I love leveraging online, and that the internet has given us the freedom to build these businesses and go online. And that's the biggest thing that you can do right now is adapt your business. If you're a small business that was a restaurant or a gym, or, you had some kind of physical brick and mortar, like now's the time for you to go online. And that's where the new customer, that's where the new economy is really going. It's not to say that these businesses aren't coming back. They are. And you will, and 100%, the restaurant that's your favorite restaurant, like you open that back up and God bless, like that restaurant is still there for you to go to. But it's like you can adapt, and it's about adapting. And like the biggest thing I learned as an entrepreneur is adapting. And I adapted at that point to take my passion and start an online publication. I had no background or degree in journalism. It was me and two guys that were 19 years old. And yeah, we started in an apartment with Wi-Fi and a dream. If you have Wi-Fi right now, you have all the tools available to you to build a website right now at a very inexpensive price, you know, to find a mentor with all the, I've interviewed all of them, Gary Vee, Lewis Howes, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, Ed Mylett. Like I've interviewed tons of powerful leaders you can learn from on my series, Leaders Create Leaders Online. And you have podcasts like what Dean has. You have everything. There is no excuse for you not to be able to adapt, find your passion, adapt, and start something and give it a shot. You know, and it's about like what I've learned is that it's about not getting in your own head of thinking and like being in the ego of like, I'm going to create something and I'm going to just create it from a sense of, you know, like it's an interesting thing. It's like just thinking you're right, like thinking that you know what people want. What I would tell you is the best thing you could do is, yes, first identify something that you want to solve and what problem you want to solve. And then you have to adapt to the new marketplace with going online right now. That the new economy is going to be there as online. The next thing you need to do is what in the startup world we know as MVP, right? It's just about validating. Validate a solution to that problem by literally starting conversation. Go to your community. That's why I love social media, is it allows you to touch so many people where they are all over the world, and then just talk to people. What are the problems you're facing? Like, if I created this kind of solution, would you be interested? And don't do it necessarily for money in the beginning. Like, do it just to solve that problem and validate that people actually find value in it, master the product based on that, what you learn and that feedback from customers, and then go all in at making a phenomenal product, something that's the best of the best that you believe is better than anyone else in the marketplace. And then you build, you start small. I mean, my first business was $500. My first client was $500 a month, before I turned it into getting clients paying me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you got to start small. Realize that it's like those small little wins every little day that add up, and eventually, coming out of this, that would be the thing that I've learned throughout my whole life is like I've adapted. I've always learned to adapt, not be afraid to fail, not be afraid to make mistakes. And like, even when I make mistakes, I learn from those mistakes and I just iterate and I make the next evolution of my product better. I mean, the product that even you went through with my events and my mastermind leaders, like it's crazy, like how much I've iterated now and built a way more, like I'm realizing how much more of a safe and vulnerable and like an active community that what I want that community to look like. The way that my process is where I teach leaders. I've outgrown. I used to teach a process called M5, mastery, messaging, marketing, model, movement. Now it's a whole nother leadership development process that I've been building. And I've learned that just over time. And now I'm getting ready to release that come May. I'm so excited about it. But it's just like you learn as you go,
It's all about adapting. I love it. And, for people out there who are listening to this and not able to see the video, when Gerard was telling the story of what his mom told him, he said, you're not going to lose this and you're not going to lose this. And he pointed to his head and to his heart. And it's true. Like, whatever's going to happen, you're not going to lose what you have in your head. And you're not going to lose what you have in your heart. And now is an amazing time to take what you have in your head and your heart and apply it in a totally different way. Maybe even in a better way without the overhead that you might have had in a physical place. Like, if you're, for example, like my wife is a personal trainer, like, okay, so now she can't do it at a gym, but she could do it online in Zoom with like 1,000% less overhead than having to have a gym. and she can reach a much larger potential audience of people that she ever could have before in a physical place. I'm not saying that she's going to, do that, but like, if you're a fitness person, like there's no better time, I think, to be in the market, reaching people, to educate, to give them what you have in your head and in your heart, to share that with them. There's, you can do it in so many different ways. And then like my Facebook feed is like nothing but people leading Zoom workouts and in their living room and yoga and like no better time to do that. If you're, a chef, like people still need to eat. Actually, that's like the only thing that people need. You might not be able to have your restaurant right now, and who knows what that's going to look like in the future, but like you can cook for the people around you. All the, like, you said, like maybe not doing it for money, all the medical workers out there that need to eat right now. I see chefs that are, feeding them for free. They're cooking for them for free. And, when it comes back, it'll happen. You could maybe teach a course online on how to cook so that we can all relearn how to cook instead of eating out every night.
Exactly.
That skill that you've mastered as a chef is valuable to other people. Like I would love to learn how to cook from some of the, chefs that live around us. So there's ways to, and
I would add,
you can reach everybody now with no overhead.
Yeah. And I would add one more thing to it too, Gene, that's really important. I would just, I want to cap it off with this, because as you know, Gene, like for the first 12 years of my career, I never told my story. I never came out. I never used social media. And one of the big things I even talked about with you is getting you to be more active in sharing and leveraging social media as a tool. And it's never been like what we're talking about is so doable for all of you. And there's this beautiful tool called social media. And you can figure out whether you find the platform that works for you based on that you enjoy. It could be doing this, a podcast, and maybe you may want to talk. Maybe Instagram, you may want to share through Instagram videos, right? You may want to use YouTube. You may want to use Facebook. Don't get overwhelmed with thinking you need to be on all of them. LinkedIn may be for you, but find that platform that fits your voice and start to share and let go of what I call FOPO, fear of people's opinion. What I learned is that Harvard came out with a study that actually proved that all of us have something in our brain that makes us worry what people think of us. And I didn't know that. I thought it was just me. And I thought it was just certain people, certain clients of mine, where we kind of get caught into that game of like, maybe it's narcissistic to build a brand. Maybe it's like, I don't know if the story's worthy, or like I should be telling it, or how to tell it, or all these things. But really it's innate in us to care what people think. And once you can acknowledge that and let go of that fear and just truly own your truth and recognize that God gave you all of these challenges, these experiences, like your features, the way I speak from my Jersey accent, all these things are unique. They're unique to you. And once you can just own that and start to authentically just share your truth, I'm telling you, through the platform that fits for you, and tie that to that thing that we're talking about, that passionate new business that's not perfect, but that you're documenting and showing people that you're on this new journey of reinventing yourself and building a new small business. People will support you. They'll see that truth. They'll see that authenticity. They'll see that vulnerability. And I'm telling you right now, you will uncover one of the greatest new chapters of your life, period.
There's an opportunity right now for people who are up for that. I like that, fear of other people's opinions.
FOPO.
I don't know. I definitely have that. I definitely have that.
I think it's Gene. We all do. How did I just told you that, right? Like we all do.
Yeah. So how do you get over that?
I really think the first thing is just that, is acknowledging it. Like it's like saying like, all right, like I get it. I can't. But realizing the second thing is actually realizing it's really not about you. If you're going to start to, like, here's my thing. If you think going to social media is about you, then just don't do it. Just don't do it. Because It's really not about you. When someone writes a book or someone starts a podcast, this podcast you started, it's not about you, man. Like, we're not taking an hour out of our life right now where you could be with your family because, this is about you. This is about your audience. This is about that one person that listens to this podcast and actually reaches out to us and says, hey, guys, thanks for taking that time, because it actually inspired me to go and do that thing that I've been so scared to actually do. Or maybe it was just a spark of inspiration because they're down and out and they're feeling like they lost their job and they they feel their challenges and they're seeing a new perspective now that we gave them. That's what it's about. It is about other people. See, leadership is about two things. It's simple. Two things. It's not about you, and it's all about you. That's it.
Okay. That's deep for me. So how does that work?
So it's not about you. When you lead, it's about serving. It's about serving other people. But here's the thing. You got to lead yourself first. Leaders take the first step. They lead. They actually have the courage and bravery to say, it's not about me, but it is about me, because if I don't start opening up and take that leap of faith and step forward, then I actually can't do what I was called to do. I can't do God's work. And it takes all these things we talked about. Like, it takes being healthy. It takes changing your mindset. It takes overcoming your own fears and looking yourself in the mirror and saying, and acknowledging those fears. And it takes like doing the inner work. That's why I talk about conscious leadership and spirituality. It takes a lot of that inner sit that like goes into your soul set, your mindset, your heart set that Robin Sharma talks about, and it's like when you do that and you heal yourself and you work through yourself and you get through those fears, then your inner world becomes your outer world. And now you can show up more in your truth. And realize, like the other skill in leadership, it's not about you, it's about others. And if people judge you, they're going to judge you anyways, because they're on their own journey still, because they judge themselves. If someone judges you, it's not because they're judging you because they think you are that person that they're projecting on you. It's because they actually judge themselves. And you just have to give them empathy, which is another big part of leadership. You have to understand that most of the time, people, when they project on you anger, fear, judgment, these things are just because they're feeling that internally about themselves, and that's just what I've learned from over being an entrepreneur all my life. I'm sure you've had that too, Gene, when you started becoming an entrepreneur, where people were like, maybe your family were like, hey, why are you doing this? You should be going and being a lawyer or a doctor or do something else, right?
I'm fortunate. My family's been extremely supportive, but certainly people, whether they question what I've done with Charity Miles, or frankly, I question it every day, to be honest.
That's normal
but
too.
It's but my favorite thing, I like what you said, is not about you. It's all about you. Certainly for me, my favorite part about Charity Miles, and kind of when you talked about purpose before, like the thing that keeps me going is our community.
Yeah.
Like even just like hearing from, it's, yes, I have, I'm out there sharing my story. Like I'll do a video on LinkedIn or Facebook, or I put out a newsletter and I'm sharing something. But what fires me up and what I like to share most are the stories from our community. The things that they share with me. I'm like so lucky that I'm like the custodian of all this amazing purpose, this community that is sharing with me all day on Instagram. They're posting their miles, they're posting their photos. So, people posting their photos from, with their masks on because they're in they're working in the hospitals, our members, and they're sharing that with me. We've had an 11-year-old boy walked across the country with the app. He gets to share that with me. Like,
oh, wow.
Just incredible stories that they share with me that I get to be kind of I don't know what the right word is, but like I just get to, I feed off it. It's like when they shoot the missiles at Godzilla and he gets just more and more energy from the missiles and that they're shooting at him. And then I get to hopefully share that out with the rest of the people so that they can feel that too.
And it too, man. Like when you're vulnerable, people, your community, probably anyone who's vulnerable in your community, like you already know how much you see the connection that happens and people open up, and it's such a really big part of community, bro. But you nailed it, man. It's, again, that's that first reel where it's not about you. It's about community. And what does the world need now? Community, man, more than ever before. They need to know that they're not alone, that we're in this together, that, there's one thing the first thing about it. When was the last time the entire world, not just the United States, the entire world is going through this
together,
right? Like, that's freaking cool. So, Gene, how do you want to close out? I have an 11. I apologize. I have to.
You got it. Yeah. This has been great. I love this. I don't know. So the dual podcast.
Yeah.
I would just say, everyone out there, I hope that, from our community, that you've enjoyed and learned from what Gerard has had to share with us. I'm grateful to you taking the time to do that,
Yeah,
for
same.
taking this walk with me. You've been walking in place there behind your desk. Very animated when you talk. Certainly, you're from New Jersey. You talk with your hands, so you've had your arm workout going.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone out there has enjoyed walking with us. And Gerard, how do you want to close it out?
Well, I would say, why don't we just take each a minute and I would love to invite my community to learning more about how they can, get involved with Charity Miles so that our community can support yours. And I would love to
Yeah,
invite your
likewise.
community to learn more about Leaders Create Leaders.
Yeah.
Quick, Gene, how can someone get involved with Charity Miles?
Really simple, charitymiles.org, or you can just go to your app store, download Charity Miles. You can join our Facebook group, Charity Miles Champions, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. It's just Charity Miles. You can find it. The podcast is the Extra Mile Podcast. And hopefully when you listen to this, you'll come along for the walk or the run with us. Gerard, how about you? Where's the Leaders Create Leaders?
I love it. I love it. Well, you guys can check me out. I have a podcast called Leaders Create Leaders, Spotify, iTunes. And then I would love it to just hear from you guys. My number one platform is Instagram. So I'd love to connect with you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram and just, put the extra mile, and I'll know that it's from this podcast, and I'll start a conversation with you. I also have a series on YouTube called Leaders Create Leaders. We're shooting season 6 right now. Episode 1 is with the founder of Mind Valley. I go and actually document Mind Valley in Kuala Lumpur, and I go in the life of Vishen, the founder, who's built the largest edtech platform, right now for personal development. I got amazing other leaders that I've interviewed. So you guys go check it out. It's at Gerard Adams TV, or just search Leaders Create Leaders on YouTube. And yeah, I'm so stoked, man. I can't wait to put this out. This is a great episode, man. I look forward to catching up with you further.
You want to give your phone number to everybody?
Sure. You guys can text me at 201-897-6439.
201. That's an original New Jersey number. That's not even 973. That's going back to the old school. So, Gerard, thank you very much. And hopefully, thanks to everyone out there for joining us.
Thanks, bro. Talk to you later.
Every mile matters. Thanks.
Peace, bro.